Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Mendelssohn recordings, who, of course, I like only because I'm Jewish. We've already established that, right? Now, Mendelssohn was an amazing composer, the greatest prodigy since Mozart, maybe even a greater prodigy than Mozart. People will be shocked that I would suggest such a thing. But if you look at what he achieved and the age he achieved it, it's a plausible claim. But we don't want to get into that argument, do we? We really don't. It's, comparisons like that are invidious. They don't tell us anything useful. What will tell us something useful is the list of the 5 greatest Mendelssohn recordings. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1. His complete symphonies and overtures and other goodies, including Die erste Walpurgisnacht, with the Vienna Philharmonic, Christoph von Dohnányi conducting on Decca. Oh, it just doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't. They're like, like Sawallisch's Schumann. They're like that. They're that good. There's not a weak note anywhere. Dohnányi is the perfect Mendelssohn conductor because he has that natural classicism in the way he handles the music. It's just an incredible set. Absolutely amazing. Next, the Octet. That's one of the things that tells us that he was at least as great a prodigy as Mozart. I mean, he wrote the Octet, the Overture to a Midsummer Night's Dream. He was only about 18. When Mozart was about 18, he was doing like the violin concertos. Yeah, who cares, But Mendelssohn, my goodness, these were revolutionary works. They were extraordinary and original in form and content. So anyway, the Octet with the Smetana and Janácek quartets on Supraphon. Oh, this recording represents the glory of the Czech quartet tradition at its most potent. It's absolutely stunningly wonderful. Remarkable performance. I mean, there are a lot of really great recordings of the Octet. It's one of those pieces. I don't think there are any bad recordings of the Octet. It almost plays itself in the sense that if you do it the way Mendelssohn wrote it, just pay attention and play, you almost can't ruin it because there's just so much interest packed into the music itself, into its timbres and textures and combinations and polyphony. And it's amazing. Next, Elijah. I always liked Elijah. I wasn't supposed to like Elijah because we're not supposed to like 19th century sacred oratorios that aren't by Handel. Well, none of them are by Handel for only talking about the 19th century. But generally speaking, the 19th century was a pretty dire moment for the sort of saccharine choral music. But Elijah is really good and really exciting. I remember I first heard it actually back in the day. I'm old enough to have been sort of trapped in the remnant of Victorian musical taste in the earlier mid-60s. And I remember in back in the days when grammar school had music appreciation, they taught us a little bit about music. Remember the textbook, Making Music Your Own? Yeah, that sort of stuff. Well, we played Elijah. Not all of Elijah. Of course, only the exciting bits of Elijah. They did the opening imprecation, followed by the overture leading up to the wailing chorus. Oh, it was really exciting and dramatic. I thought it was thrilling. Then, of course, there's the contest between the priests of Baal and, the Israelites and whatnot. I mean, it's just hot stuff. And the recording in question is a recent one. Bryn Terfel as Elijah, Renee Fleming, and the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment on period instruments conducted by Paul Daniel on Decca. It's a splendid performance. It has the best of the period instrument approach in that it views the piece anew. It strips away, layers of sort of Victorian pomposity and plays it as a real drama with real excitement, and it's fabulously well sung. So it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, if you've been brainwashed into thinking that Elijah's like yucky and boring, then you should hear that recording. You really should, because it'll knock your socks off. It's absolutely sensational. Next, the string quartets. Mendelssohn was an incredible chamber music composer, and his string quartets are really, really extraordinary. They don't get the attention that they deserve. No less than Hans Keller, who was the dedicatee of Britain's third quartet, and he was a string quartet guy and Schoenberg student and all this stuff. And he wrote a book on Haydn's string quartets, which is absolutely insane. He was actually kind of a loon, but aside from being a loon, he insisted that the only great quartets, real, true quartets, after Haydn's were Mendelssohn's and Schoenberg's. And that was it. Now, that's absolutely ridiculous. But it does say something that he, chose Mendelssohn, because Mendelssohn's first two quartets are wholly radical in form and show a clear influence of Beethoven's last quartets. That is, they consist of multiple sections joined together with some cyclical elements. They're remarkable works, incredibly expressive, really beautiful, and Mendelssohn's parents were horrified by them. He was one of the few composers who really understood and appreciated the late Beethoven quartets when everybody else thought Beethoven was just insane. But Mendelssohn got him. And then he went through a period of three quartets of a more neoclassical cast. That is their, sort of four-movement, basic, standard shapes, but full of wonderful ideas and beautiful. The content-wise, they're off the charts. And then there's the last quartet, wrote after the death of his sister Fanny, which is just one of the most scary expressionistic pieces you'll ever hear in your life. If you think Mendelssohn was a sort of, namby-pamby, Victorian wimp, listen to that quartet. It is one of the most gripping, emotionally devastating pieces in the entire chamber music literature. And people are just now, really, literally, just in the past, couple of decades, coming to grips with the expressive intensity that Mendelssohn packed into that piece. It's absolutely devastating and thrilling. And so for that set, the Pacifica Quartet on Cedille is unbeatable. First of all, the recording is sonically stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. The Pacifica Quartet is a fantastic group, as smart as they are talented, and their shaping and handling of each movement in each quartet is just about perfect. Their corporate, technical ensemble values are second to none. Really, it's a stunning set of quartets by anybody, but the Mendelssohn quartets, it's my reference version. It's tremendous. And last but not least, of course, A Midsummer Night's Dream. The greatest piece of incidental music ever incidented. Or one of them anyway, that and Peer Gynt and a couple others. But wow, what a perfect marriage of music and storytelling. There's so much to enjoy in that piece, and not just the wedding march and the scherzo and the nocturne, and even the little bitlets are just delicious. And the recording of choice there is Seiji Ozawa with the Boston Symphony, which is absolutely fantastically marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. It's beautifully played, beautifully recorded, fabulously well sung, and spoken by none other than a Dame Judi Dench, which is, adds something considerable to the appeal of the disc. It's just a class act all the way from beginning to end. And those are the 5 greatest Mendelssohn recordings. Now, I am more than happy to entertain your selection. Even if you're not Jewish, you get to do it. You do. And I think that your selections are going to be extremely interesting. I really do. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.